And in today's class, we'll be working on, it'll be, again, a little of this, a little of that. And in particular, we'll be doing various things to stretch out the legs, upper legs, the lower legs, front of the legs, back of the legs, side of the legs. Yeah, great, awesome. So we'll start with our classic Supta Pada Gustasana. So let's come down, have a strap handy, but we won't use it yet. We'll just take a lie down for a second.
Loop or no loop?
Up to you, whatever handhold you like. Yeah, and for the moment, you can have the legs bent or straight, just whatever is comfortable. Yeah. Just let yourself ease into this position of quiet stillness. But notice that we're never completely still because of our breath. And also our heartbeat, and our circulation, all of this stuff that's moving through the body. And let's just take a few breath cycles to feel the breath, notice how the breath is going. How the body is moving, where. And then very gently, just let your head take a little turn from side to side. And before we get to any sort of leg stretching, we'll just work on a little bit of movement through the hip joints. So if anybody has the legs long, let's bend up the knees. And then pay attention for a moment just to the right one. And this is teeny tiny, at least at first. Let the right knee tip to the right, but see if you can do that without the pelvis coming with the leg, which means it'll be much smaller than it would otherwise. And then you'll return the knee to point straight out. So just take that a few times, letting the knee go to the right side and back to center. And if you're not sure if the pelvis is moving, you could put your hands either on the low belly or the front of the pelvis and just check. Yeah. And certainly you'll feel some weight shift going on in the foot as well. Now, let's take the knee over further and do let the pelvis rock over. And do this without letting the left knee move. So the left hip will lift a little, but the knee will stay pointing up. And then we'll return the pelvis and the right leg to center. So do this a few times. First, the knee goes on its own, and then the pelvis comes with, and the left hip lifts, but we keep the left knee in place. And then back to center. Just take that a few more times, noticing when the leg is moving in the hip socket, the ball and socket, and when the pelvis is moving with the leg. Yeah, just see if you can differentiate. Good. And then we'll take it one more time. And the next time we come back up to the center, we'll stay. And take your feet a little bit wider than they are. Maybe mat's width, maybe not that quite wide, just a bit wider. And then we'll do the same thing, but letting the right leg drop in. So at first, don't let the pelvis come with. Let the right knee go a little to the left. It's not that far. And then we'll return to center. Do that a few more times, at first without the pelvis coming with, which might feel, in a way, almost unsatisfying because you know the leg wants to go further, and it will in a second. Yeah. So now, just like we did before, the next time we go, allow the knee to go further, And let the right hip lift a little, but still try to keep the left knee in place. And then we'll return to center, both knees point up to the ceiling. Let's take that a few more times. So the right knee drops again, and then it comes back up to center. Yeah. And sometimes in this direction, we get a little limited by the left leg. It might kind of block the movement, and that's fine. If that happens, just stop when you can't go any further. But we still want to keep the left knee more or less in position. Yeah, great. And now we're going to go both directions. So after you drop the leg in, we'll come up and let the leg drop out, and the pelvis will move. But again, we want to keep the left knee more or less pointing up towards the ceiling. Yeah. So if you're familiar with the windshield wiper, it's that, except a little different. The left leg is not really participating, but in a way, it is, because the pelvis is moving around the head of the left thigh bone, so it's getting moved in a different way than it typically would. Yeah. Great, and then let's take just one more round in and out. And we'll pause, coming back to center. Let's release the legs long. Just take a moment. Notice from doing that, if the right side of the body feels different than the left side. Yeah. And then let's do this. Press the back of the right heel towards the floor and let the leg, keeping it straight, you'll roll internal and external rotation on the right side and just check out the range of motion there. And then we'll compare it to the left side. So let the right leg relax and then let the left leg go in and out and just see if that's any different. Yeah, I should have had us check this before, but I didn't. So here we are. All right, and then let's do that on the second side. So stand the feet on the floor. And for the moment, be about hips width distance apart with the feet. And then you can have the hands on the low belly or the front of the pelvis if you need to check and make sure it's still. Let the left knee go to the left without the pelvis coming with, and then back to center. And for me, on this side, I get more range. I had a hip injury many years ago, and it's still never, I don't think, ever going to be quite the same on the two sides. So you might notice a difference too. Yeah. All right. And then from here, we'll add on. So keeping the right knee in place, let the left leg drop over further. The pelvis now comes with the leg. The right hip will lift a little bit. And then we come back to center. And do that just a couple more times. So letting the knee go, and then the pelvis goes with the leg. And then back to center. A couple more times like that. Just as you go along, notice if the two sides are behaving differently, if this feels different than we were on the first side. Yeah, great. And then we'll finish up one more. Next time you return to center, let's widen your stance a little bit, feet a bit wider. And then at first, we'll keep the pelvis still as the left knee drops towards the right, towards the midline. And then you'll return to stand the sole of the foot on the floor and do that one a few times more. At first, without the pelvis coming with, which means that'll limit how far you go. And then when you're ready to add on, as the leg drops over, let the pelvis come with. The left hip will lift, but don't let the right leg come with. And then to center we come. Do that one a few more times. Yeah. And notice how much the right leg wants to drop out to the right. We will do it next, but for now, don't let it. Yeah, and then we'll go both directions. So we do the dropping in and then dropping out. And allow the pelvis to come along with. And do your best to keep the right knee pointing up to the ceiling the whole time. you guys. Great. And now go ahead and let the right leg move. So it's back. It's our traditional windshield wipers. Just back and forth we go. And then notice here as you're going along, when you come back to center, just notice which part of the leg is initiating that or which part of the body. Yeah. And then we'll pause the next time the legs drop over to the right side. And notice when we do this, the low back kind of arches a bit off the floor. Instead of coming up from the legs, can you think of pressing the low back and the pelvis towards the floor? And then from there, the legs follow and we return to center. Yeah, so let's go the other direction. I'll say it again. So the back is a little bit arched, a little lifted off the floor. See if you can gently press the low back towards the floor and use that to take you back up to center. Yeah, do that a few times. And you might feel that it's some work like deep in the lower abdominal area to return the legs back up. Great. And also you might feel like the head wants to roll either with the legs or opposite. Just let the head do what it wants to do. All right, friends. And the next time we come back to center, let's pause, just take a moment. Stretch the legs long on the floor. And then let's check our rotation again. We'll start with the left side. So let the leg rotate in and out, keeping the back of the heel to the floor. Yeah. And then relax and do the right side. Great. Okay. And then let's pause. Stand the 2 feet on the floor and let's bring the knees in towards the chest and just draw little circles here. Let the legs go together. And then go the other direction. Yeah. And then let's pause here in the middle and press the right leg away from you and the left one towards you. And then do the opposite. So one arm and leg and then the other. Yeah. Good. And then we're going to make a circle here. Next time the right one comes in and the left one comes away, pause. And then both legs come away from the midline, away from each other. The right one goes away from you, the left one comes towards you. And then we come back to center. So let's draw a few times more this circle. It's more like a figure 8. Good. And then the next time we come to middle, we'll change the direction. So the right one goes away, the left one pulls in, out, and then opposite. And take that a few more times. You find this so simple, but very effective. All right, friends. And then when you're done with those, let's pause. Set the 2 feet on the floor, the knees still point up to the ceiling. Hands to the thighs, and just press straight ahead. Hands into the legs, and you can let the low back lift a little away from the floor. All right, and then we'll back off of that. And now let's locate your strap, and we'll strap up the right foot. You can hold any way you like. Left leg can either be bent or straight. It's your choice, whatever feels good. And for the moment, just take a little bit of movement, and that could be anything. You could go forward and back. You could bend and straighten the knee. You could move through the ankle. Anything like that is fine. Yeah. And then let's do this here. Whatever movement you're taking, pause. And let's bend the knee slightly. As you re-lengthen the leg, press the sole of the foot up into the strap, but at the same time, think of your ball and socket joint on the right hip. Press the ball down into the socket as the foot is pressing up into the strap. Yeah, and then back off. Do that a few times. So the knee bends, and then as the leg re-lengthens, we press both up and down at the same time. Yeah. And notice what the pelvis is doing as you're taking this action in the leg. What I'm hoping is when the leg goes straight and we press up and down, the pelvis comes into more of a neutral, as opposed to when we bend the knee, sometimes the pelvis tucks under a little bit. Yeah. All right. So let's pause here the next time we're in the straight leg position and slide the strap down so it's right about at the front of the heel. And then you'll continue to push the heel into the strap and draw down with the arms. Just a kind of an even effort on both sides. Yeah. Good. All right, we'll stay here. Back off a little bit. And now use the arms. You can give yourself some more slack on the strap. Let's start to take a little circle with the right leg. And I'll be kind of specific at first. Try to make the circle approximately like a baseball size. So it's pretty small. Pretty small. And you might feel a little bit of movement in the pelvis, but let's try to minimize any kind of rock and roll going on in the pelvis. That's it. And then from here, gradually let every circle start to become a little larger than the last. And the larger we go, the pelvis will start to move with the leg. And let that happen and just notice what it's doing. You can decide how big you want to make the circle. And if you're going really big, you might give yourself a little more slack in the strap. And it's okay if you're going really large, if the circle starts to, maybe it's more like an egg shaped or an oval, it's okay if it's not completely round. Yeah. Great. Now let's start to spiral back in. So each circle is a little smaller and a little smaller and a little smaller until eventually we're back in the center again. And just take a little note of what direction you're going. And then let's reverse the way and start with the little baseball size. So it's little circles, little circles. And for the little ones, try to make it very smooth, very round, minimal movement in the pelvis. Yeah. And when you're ready to make it bigger, let each one become a little bigger. And as that happens, the pelvis will start to come along more. And feel free to give yourself as much slack as you like in the strap. See if you can use the arms to steer and let the leg just be steered, moved. Yeah, you guys. All right. And then we'll start to spiral back in, making each one a little smaller, a little smaller. Okay. And then once we get to center here, we'll pause. Let's bend the knee, remove the strap, and just take a little check-in, two sides. You might need to wiggle the hands a little. Sometimes the hands get tired from holding the strap. But notice if the right side of the body and the left feel different. The right leg versus the left leg, the right half of the pelvis. Yeah. Okay. So let's do side two. We'll bend up the left knee, strap the foot, and take just a yogi's choice minute or so, movement, stillness, whatever you need. I find I usually prefer more movement than stillness at the beginning, especially if things are a little tight. Any kind of movement is fine. Yeah. All right. And then let's pause here. Take a slight bend in the left knee. And as you re-lengthen the leg, push the foot up into the strap, and in the hip joint, press the ball into the socket. Do both of those slowly as the leg re-lengthens. And then you'll bend a little, back off a little, and go again. So the foot presses up, the thigh bone presses down. And continue doing this a few more rounds and just notice what the pelvis is doing in both the relaxed state and when you're pressing the foot and the thigh bone. Yeah. Great. We're going to pause the next time the leg is your version of straight. If it's not straight up and down, if it's a little out away from you, that's okay. Let's slide the strap down so it's right about at the front of the heel. And press pretty firmly that part of the foot into the strap, and with as much effort as you're pushing up, same effort to pull down. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll back off. And we'll start to draw our circles, starting baseball size, just a little guy. And for now, minimal movement in the pelvis. Smooth movement, smooth glide through the leg. And then very gradually, we'll let the circles start to spiral out, each one a little bigger. And now the movement will be more in the pelvis. And the bigger you go, the more likely it'll be less circular. And for today, that's fine. Another day, I might say something else, but for today, if it changes shape slightly, that's okay. Yeah. Notice too if this leg is behaving differently than the right one was. Yeah. So let's start to spiral back in. Each circle just gradually becomes a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller. And just make sure you know what direction you're going. Once we land back in the center, we'll pause and then go the other direction, starting with the little ones, the baseball size. Yeah. Smooth and round. Stillness in the pelvis. That's it. And then very gradually, we go bigger and bigger. More movement in the pelvis. More movement in the leg. You can give yourself as much slack as you need on the strap. And yeah. Aren't you glad you're not out on the road with that guy? Yikes. All right, friends, let's start to go smaller again. And letting the leg land right in the middle. And then once we get there, we'll release, let the knee bend, get rid of the strap. Take another little check-in, just take a lie down and notice what you notice. The legs and the rest of the body. If you need to move the hands a little, the wrists, take what you need. And then just very gently here, let's let the head roll from side to side. It's a nice little head roll. We're about to come off of your back, so know that's coming. Let's let the knees bend, feet on the floor, and we'll just roll to one side and then come up to sit. Yeah. And we're going to stay down for a second. So for this next one, this one, if you have a really hard block, you might prefer a rolled up blanket or some other prop. You could even put a blanket on top of the block. For most of us, I think the medium height should serve us well. And we'll put the right leg up on the block, but have it pretty far down, pretty close to the foot. It's not in the Achilles, just above the Achilles. That's it. You can just kind of lean back on your arms and then cross the left one over, unless that feels like too much pressure, and then you could just leave the left one down. But let's take a little side to side. Yeah, just a little mash here. Sarah, I would switch your body a little forward, just a smidge, just a little bit.
Me.
Yes, you. Yeah, is that better? Does that feel better? Okay. Yeah, and then from here, let's pause when you find kind of an interesting spot. And then move the ankle, the bottom one, the right one, around a little bit. Yeah, any kind of movement is fine. Yeah. All right. And then let's pause and we'll get into 2 more spots on this leg. So let's scooch a little bit more so it's kind of right in the fat part of the calf. And then the other one crosses over if you're working with that. And again, we go back and forth, back and forth. Yeah.
I have all kinds of horrible things in my leg when I do this.
Oh,
Yeah.
in a good way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of knots hiding in there.
Yeah, there are, aren't they? Yeah. Sometimes we don't realize it until we do something
This
like
is
this.
easier than a foam roller.
It's different. It's a little different. All right, let's pause and then move the foot around anything at all. Yep. All right. And then we'll go to one more spot. It's not right behind the knee. It's slightly lower down from that. And then again. Oh. Yeah.
Well, it's not so
No,
bad.
yeah, you guys know your bodies, you'll be able to tell if something's like really not a good idea, change your position a little bit. If you can tell it's not serving you. Yeah, and then pause in another interesting spot and mobilize the ankle. I haven't done this one in a while with you guys.
This is the first time.
Oh, you've never done it with me. Okay, great. All right, let's pause and come out. And then just shake out the hands a little bit. You can wiggle the fingers. Yeah. Or stay if you want to stay. Yeah. And then we'll do the other side. The first time I did this, I forgot her name. But she didn't have her own blocks. And then she went out like that night to buy the blocks. She liked it so much.
So much.
Yeah. All right, so we're pretty low for this first one, closer to the foot. And then, oh, this side is different. Yeah. If it's too much to cross the right one over, just go without. The extra weight for some people is awesome, and for others, it's just not a great idea. So, yeah. And then find an interesting place and move the foot around. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and if you're doing this not with me, just on your own, you can find so many interesting places and do it. We're just going to pick one in each spot. All right, pause and new position. Just kind of right in the widest part. And we go again. Oh, that might be better, might be worse.
Oh my.
Yeah. One thing so the foam roller, if you do this, is round. The block has corners, which
So you can kind of work it in this position.
you can, but be kind. It's possible to overdo. Really anything it's possible to overdo. And then we'll pause and move the foot. Huh. I always think my right one is tighter, but sometimes it's the left one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then it feels different in each.
In each little spot, yeah. You could do like 5 or 6 spots if you want, and we're just gonna do 3 for now. All right, let's go into that third spot. So it's not right behind the knee, it's slightly lower than that. And if you have a shorter leg, then I didn't mention that, but feel free to move it into a completely different spot if necessary. Yeah. Oh yeah, good idea. If anybody wants to kind of lay down on the forearms, that's an option too.
I couldn't decide if that was.
Yeah, you can. You can.
Better, more intense or less.
I find there's more weight on it if you're upright, which may or may not be what you want.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And then let's pause and move the oh, yes. Maybe we need to do this one more often.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Those little calves don't get very much tension.
They don't. Yeah, unless they're, in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's undo. Release. Yeah, get rid of the block. Just kind of shake out the legs a little bit. Shake out the hands a little bit. And move your feet around any which way. Yeah. All right. We'll be briefly on your hands and knees, but we won't stay on the hands for too long after being on them already. Yeah. Yeah, so just start to move around a little bit through the spine. Anything is fine. Circles, side to side, cat cows, whatever seems like a great idea. And then we'll pause and let's come forward and down onto the belly. We'll be here for a little bit. Stretch the legs back and down one at a time. And then we'll slide the right knee. I'm going to do left so you guys can see. Slide the right knee out to the side, kind of frog style. Yeah, and we'll just rest the forehead on the hands. And we'll be here for a moment. Yeah. Now, if this is awkward on the belly or the pelvis or the low back, you could fold up a blanket and have it under your torso if you need to. We won't be here for too long, but take it if you need it. And then we'll just bend the right knee. And sometimes I would have us reach back and grab the foot, but not for now. Just bend the right knee so the foot's, the left knee, so the foot's up in the air. Yeah. And then the foot that's up in the air, let's do just a little point flex mobility through the ankle. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll pause, release that. We'll stretch the right leg out back to the starting position, and then you'll do the second side. So first take the knee out and just be here for a second. When the one leg is out like this, the pelvis is in an asymmetrical position, so just know that. And then we'll bend the bottom leg, foot in the air. We'll go ahead and add in the movement here, point and flex, moving at the ankle. Great. All right. And then let's release that. Set the leg down, take the other leg back. Just take a little wobble here on the belly. And then we'll transition back into downward facing dog. So take your time to get there. And for this first one, you'll probably want to move a little bit through the legs. So you can pedal, you can shift, you can turn your head. Yeah. All right, and now let's meet in a standing forward fold. You can either walk the feet forward or the hands back or a little of each. Bend the knees slightly and press into the spot right at the front of the heels. And let's use the inhale to come all the way up. All the way up we come. Yes, friends. Down come the arms. And then we'll bend the knees slightly. And let's actually separate your feet a little bit. Pretend your pelvis is heavier than it really is. And just start to move around a little bit. Any which way is fine. And think about, again, the ball and socket joints. And let the movement in there be nice and smooth, just really easy. Good. Okay. And then we'll let that one settle. Just coming back to center. And let's head to the front of the mat. And we'll set up blocks. And in a second, we'll be doing a lunge with the knee down. If you need a blanket for that, you can set that up as well. Yeah. Then we'll stand with the feet about hips width distance apart. Let's take a slight bend in the knees. And remember when we had the strap and we were pressing the foot into the strap and the ball into the socket, same idea standing. So let's press down through the front of the heel and think of drawing the ball into the socket as we relengthen. Let's do that a few times. So you bend, letting the hips go back. And then as you relengthen, press down and lift up at the same time. Let's do that one more time. And this time as we come up, take the arms up, we'll stay. Use the arms to help lengthen the sides of the waist. Relax a little through the shoulders, through the face, through the neck. Let's inhale. And then as we exhale, bend the knees, hinge at the hip crease to come forward and down. Hands land on something. Take a halfway lift, moving the chest forward. Lower yourself down here. Let's step the right leg back and release the knee down to the floor. That's it, or to a blanket. And you can decide if you want the toes tucked or not. If the toes are straight back, can you press down through the center of the shin? And then for everybody, can you lift up through the front of the thigh, up through the low belly as we come up to this position, hands to the hips. Yeah, so think of drawing down through the back of the leg. I'm drawing up through the belly and through the front of the leg. Let's send the arms up. Yeah, great. Take a little side bend. Left hand grasps the right forearm. Up and come and over. Towards the bent leg. Towards the bent leg. Yeah. And then we'll do it again with a slightly different hand position. Bend the right elbow and turn the palm of the hand towards the ceiling. And then grasp the wrist again, or the forearm again. Come up and go the same direction. Some people find this a little easier on the shoulder. Yeah. Keep the belly lifted. Those of you with a straight right foot, press down the front of the center of the shin. And then let's undo, coming back to center. Release the arms down. And take a few rounds of back and forth. Any version is fine, and then I'll be more specific in a second. All right, let's pause with the front knee bent. As we re-lengthen the leg, the pelvis will want to tuck under. See if you can do the opposite, and we'll go back really slowly. Try to draw the tailbone back, and even a little bit up. And if you don't go all the way straight in the leg, that's fine. If you need to walk the hands back a little, that's fine. So the pelvis and the tailbone are drawing back. At the same time, can you draw the chest and the ribs forward? Yeah. Let's keep this position in the spine. And then if you're able to, just slowly do a little point flex through the foot. Yeah. Nice and slow. Notice you'll feel a different part of the leg depending on where your foot is positioned. Good. Next time the toes go down towards the floor, let's pause. Bend the ankles so the toes go a little to the right and the ankles kind of bowed out a little to the left. Walk the hands slightly forward and slightly left if you're able. And some of you can go all the way to the outside of the left leg. Don't force it. If that's a no-go, just stay where you were. And now we're in kind of a diagonal line here. Can you draw the pelvis and the rib cage away from each other, lengthening through the side body? Yeah, can you still breathe though while you're here? Uh-oh. All right. Now, we'll stay in the position, but just back off a little bit. You can even shift slightly forward, maybe bend the front knee a little, and then readjust the foot. So the toes point straight ahead. And now can you go onto the heel, lifting the toes, spread out through the toes, draw the pinky toe back, and think of pressing forward, not through the big toe itself, but the ball of the big toe knuckle. Yeah, and then move the chest forward again, and the pelvis back again. Yeah, good. Notice for most of us, the pelvis is swinging right, and that's okay, it's kind of a counterbalance, but can you let the pelvis shift a little left? Oh, no. Yeah, okay, let's back off. Reset the arms, rebend the front knee, tuck the back toes under and lift the back knee, and this time we'll be pretty active in the position. On the back leg, can you lift through the inner thigh? Move the pelvis back, move the chest forward, and just become lighter on the hands. Let's just keep the hands down, but keep them light. Yeah, all right. And then to get out, get rid of the blocks, head into downward facing dog pose. For this one, let's bring the feet a little closer than you normally would. They might touch, they don't have to touch. And then try to press the mat. Let's bend the knees a little. Press the mat down and forward with the hands so the hips go back and lift up. And then from there, very slowly go straighter in the legs. Press down through the balls of the feet and lift the heels, but try not to go forward in the torso when you do. And then bring the heels back down. Do that a few times. A little lift and lower in the heels. And especially when the heels come up, the shoulders and the chest want to go forward. Don't let them. Yeah. One more time. Good. Let's take a little break. You can separate the feet and come down into child's pose. Knees can go wide if you like. Once you're in position, let's flip the hands so the palms face up. Curl the fingers in and out a few times. You can bend at the wrists. You can give the hips a little wobble from side to side. Anything like that is fine. Yeah. All right. And then from here, friends, let's head into down dog. We'll use that as a transition. From your down dog, head to the front of the mat, feet to the hands. Slight little bend in the knees, and then let's find this idea again. The heels, the front of the heels press down as the thigh bones press up to come up, lengthening the legs, lifting the arms overhead. And then arms come down alongside you. Yeah. All right. So I need to move my blocks. We're going to do the whole shebang on side 2. So let's start again, feet a little bit apart, and do a few of these more. So the knees bend, the hips draw back, and as you re-lengthen, press down through the front of the heels and draw up, pressing the ball into the socket, but this time it goes up. Yeah, do that a few times. So nice slow bend, a nice little slow lengthen. Yeah, it's like a spring in slow motion. One more time, bend. This time as we re-lengthen, let's add in the arms and use the arms to help lengthen the side body. Stay there, but relax a little through the shoulders. We'll inhale. Exhale, down we come, little bend in the knees, hinge from the hip creases. Take your halfway lift. That's it. Left leg comes back and down, coming into our lunge. You can keep the toes tucked under if you prefer, or have the toes back. Yeah? Now, if the toes are back, press down through the center of the shin. And then for everybody, think of lifting up through the front of the left thigh and through the low belly as we come up here, hands to hips. Yeah, great. So we'll do our 2 side bends here. Arms reach up. Use the right hand to grasp the left forearm. First we pull up, then we go over to the right. That's it. Keep that little lift through the low belly. And then we'll come to center, just changing the arm position. Bend the elbow a little, turn the left palm to face the ceiling. And then we pull up and then over again. Same direction. If the shin is flat, press the shin downward. Everybody lift up through the low belly. Yeah. Good. And then we return to center. Let's undo the arms. Come on back down. Take a few rounds at first. Any way you want to go, it's fine. A little back and forth. And just notice here, don't try to prevent it, but notice when we come back, the pelvis wants to tuck under. Let's pause next time we come forward. Can you untuck the pelvis? Think of drawing the tailbone back, and then keep that happening as the leg slowly goes straighter. Yes. Keep moving the chest forward. You can walk the arms back a little if you need. Yeah. So let's keep this idea, the pelvis and the tailbone drawing back as you lengthen the torso forward. And then just nice and slowly we'll bring the toes towards the floor. They don't have to touch. And then pull them back up and draw back through the toes. Do that a few more times. Now, if anybody needs to go higher on the blocks, absolutely fine. If you need to go even higher, make a little block tower. No big deal. Yeah? Sometimes the 2 sides are different as well. Great. So let's pause here. The next time the sole of the foot goes towards the floor. Again, it doesn't have to touch. And then we'll bend at the ankle so the toes go in a little towards the left. Move the chest forward here. Walk the arms towards the right. And you can go either a little bit or all the way outside of the right leg. And for me, I'm not doing as much on this side. This side's a little tighter. Yeah. Now, you're kind of on the diagonal. Just leave that alone. But can you draw the pelvis and the rib cage away from each other? Extending through the torso. Yeah. Great. So let's stay here, but back off a little. You can bend the front knee a bit. redo the foot so it's not bowed in anymore. And now go onto the heel, lifting the toes up. Spread out through the toes, lengthen the leg, draw back through the right hip. Move the pelvis back, move the chest forward. Oh, yeah. Yeah, now we're finding it. And then keep everything the same, except let the pelvis slide a little to the right. Oh, which is not what it wants to do, is it? Yeah, yogis. Okay. Can we breathe while we're here? That's important. Yeah. All right, let's back off, redo the hands if they went to the side, back. Bend the front knee, and then we'll tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. Pause here, active leg, lift through the inner thigh, pelvis back, chest forward, and then see if you can just go a little bit lighter in the hands, so let the legs take the majority of the weight here. Pelvis back, chest forward, try to de-round the back. Yeah, all right, and then let's undo, get rid of the blocks, head into your downward facing dog pose. That's it. And then let's do this one again. Feet come a little closer together. Slight bend in the knees for a second. Press the mat down and forward so we can bring the hips back. And try to keep the hips back as you re-lengthen the legs. And very slowly lift the heels higher, but try not to go forward in the shoulders when you do. Yeah. And then very slowly come back down again. Do that a few times so the legs go together. Anybody getting a good calf stretch here? Yeah. Oh, good. So, yeah. We're going to do another one in a sec. Great. Let's pause and reset, just regular stance, down dog. And then either walk the feet to the hands or the hands to the feet, standing forward fold. Slight bend in the knees. As we come up, we hinge up from the hip creases. Press down through the feet and draw up through the ball of the ball and socket. Yeah, you can lift the arms too. All right, friends, release the arms. Nice job, let's celebrate. Little hula hoops. Big stretchy leg day, go the other direction. Yeah. So this next one is another calf stretch variation. Let's grab a single block and head towards the back of the mat. And the block is on high, maybe a foot or two in front of you. We're not going to use it quite yet. Stand with the feet a little bit wider than you normally stand. Probably not quite as wide as the mat. And then we'll bend the knees, bring the hips back. At first, this one's very awkward looking. You'll crisscross the forearms, then slide the hands high to the inner thighs, resting the forearms on the tops of the legs. Yeah? So as you're here, push the hands both back and apart, and counter that by drawing the chest forward. Yeah. In your feet, think about reaching back through the inner heels. Yeah. All right. We're going to keep the knees bent. We're going to let go of the legs and grab the block, but pretend your hands are still there, pushing back and apart. And then we find the block. Yeah? Keeping the knees bent, keeping the heels down, wiggle the block as forward as you can. And we'll hold here. So at the very tops of the thighs, press apart and back. Counter that by drawing the ribs forward, chest forward. Counter that in the feet. Try to reach back and down through the inner heels. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to ditch the block. Go onto your fingertips, spider fingers. Very slowly, the legs will start to straighten, but don't let the heels lift off the floor. Little itsy bitsy spider, walk forward, forward, forward. The legs go straighter, but the heels stay down. That's it. And then from here, top of the thighs press apart and back. Torso lengthens forward, inner heels reach back. We keep the heels down, go flat on the hands. And then one more time, walk the hands a little further forward. Heels stay down. Heels stay down. Yeah. Top of the thighs press apart and roll back. Torso lengthens forward towards the hands. Inner heels reach down and back. Oh, yogis. Yeah, breathe. Breathe. And now one more crawl forward. This time let the heels lift up, but think of them still reaching downward. So now we're more in the traditional down dog. Upper thighs press back and apart. Chest draws towards the hands. Inner heels reach downward, even though they won't touch the floor. And try to reach the inner heels back. Yeah. Nice. Let's take a little break. Come down, child's pose. Ooh. You guys were pretty quiet though. Sometimes there's more complaining. Yeah, let the forehead rest either on your own arms or on a block. And very gently just let the head roll from side to side. Nice job, guys. Let's pause. And then bring yourself up to center. We'll swing the legs around. Yeah, we're almost done. We're almost done. And then just take the legs out and move a little, wiggle the feet. Yeah. Oh, but how do those legs feel now?
Big toe torture.
Yeah. All right. So we've done a lot to stretch the back line of the legs, very little for the front. So let's do, it's another version of the windshield wiper, a one-legged thing. So you'll come down onto your back, bend the right knee, and put the left leg long on the floor. And then just press the sole of the right foot down so the right hip lifts, and we come into just a little bit of a twist, little hip extension on the right side, and then return to the floor. Let's do that a few times. And then, if you know the pattern, you can go into it. If you don't know what I'm going to say, take the left arm up by your head. The right arm, as the foot is pressing down, the hip lifts up, sweep the floor out and up with the right arm, and then let the right heel lift, and you'll roll over so you're kind of on the left side. And then we'll return back down and do that a few more times on the same side. So the foot presses, the arm sweeps, the heel lifts, and we roll. Yeah. Do that a couple more times. Just to get a little hip extension here on the right leg. Good. And then we'll do last round on this side. And when we come back to center, we'll change out the legs. For the moment, arms can do anything. Left foot's kind of wide. And then at first, let's keep the heel on the floor. So you press down, lift the hip, just roll slightly, and go all the way over, and then come back down. Do that a few times. So we press down, let that press down travel up the leg until the hip lifts. Yeah. And then if you're adding on, right arm is up by the head. As the left foot presses, the left arm sweeps out and up. You can let the heel lift and roll towards the side. And then we'll undo, reset, a couple more rounds. Yeah. And then after you've completed this next round, we will come into Shavasana. Yay. Yeah, if you need to take a little stretch or anything kind of before Shavasana, of course, take what you need to do. If you need props, gather what you like. Yeah. And as you settle, as you start to settle here, think about the pelvis again. And imagine it has become heavier. And as it drops down, imagine that it could just widen a little, take up a little more space. Yeah. And at the same time, imagine the thigh bones have also become a little heavier. Right at the hip crease. Let that part of the thigh bone drop down. See if you can relax through the belly, through the front of the legs. Allow the body to be moved by your breath. Bring your attention back to your own body. Let's just take a little head roll, letting the head turn from side to side. If it feels good to add in a little stretch of the arms, legs, maybe a little roll with the wrists, ankles. Yeah, any of that. And then when you're ready, you can bend up the knees and we'll roll over, meeting on one side. And from there, we'll press into the floor and return upright, sitting. Hands right at heart center. Light in me honors the light in you. We bow to that light. Namaste.
Namaste.